Good morning. If you're looking for a new role in the new year, then listen to this video. I've got a few tips and tricks that hopefully will help you. Excuse the hat, it's absolutely freezing here. You'd think I was abroad, but no, I'm actually in Surrey. But it's absolutely freezing, but a fantastic, glorious day. So if you're looking for a new role in the new year, what things can you do to increase your chances of getting a role? Well, I've said in the past about, I always think of it like your skills and everything else are like the legs of a table. So if you've just got 3 legs of a table, that's a bit of a wobbly table, isn't it? But if you've got multiple legs of a table, 6 for example, that's going to strengthen the table, strengthen your foundations. I also, when I speak to people on my free clarity calls, I sometimes do the analogy of a graphic equalizer. Yeah, so you know one of those old graphic equalizers we used to have, and you can push up the levels in different areas and increase the quality of the sound output. So I like to think of it as the same for your job search or contract search strategy as well. So one of those little sliders on the graphic equalizer could be your skill set, for example. Now I can't do much about that, but you might want to just assess, are your skills marketable? Is there a market for your skills out there? You can just go onto JobServe or any of the other job sites and see, are there roles in your particular niche, just to make sure you're not in a really niche down area where there's no roles available. So that's one thing, is your skills. The next thing I'd say is certifications. Now I always believe that on the job experience far outweighs any certification you've got, but you've also got to play the game, because if you've got some spotty recruiter who, you know, is young, inexperienced, doesn't know your niche, but if they see on page 1 you've got certified AWS, for example, that might push them to put you forward over someone else who doesn't have that certification. So if you can get any certifications in the niche or around the niche that you're working in, or extra ones, like I'm trying to get the AWS one, I've done the training on it before, just haven't done the certification. So that's something I just want to tick the box of, increase my legs of a table again, and get a few certifications where I can. So you've got skills, you've got certifications, there's obviously your CV. So again, people sometimes think that their CV is fine, but they're not getting anywhere. So usually there's a mismatch somewhere, a disjoint. So look to improve your CV. I even did it myself when I was out of work for a while, tweaked my CV a little bit, and I seemed to get better results almost instantly. So definitely think about doing your CV. It doesn't have to be with me, but if you want to do it with me, I do the free CV check, CV Express next, if you want more help. Because sometimes I believe you don't need these full CV reviews like Top CV and other companies do, where you blow a few £100, because you think it's like a silver bullet and it's going to solve all your problems. And of course it doesn't, because it's one thing on its own. It's one of the legs of a table. It's one of the equalizer sliders. Yeah, so just doing one of those is not necessarily going to get you the best results. It could do, but definitely think about improving your CV. CV Express is like the budget option, where I'll give you 3 more things. If you've had the free check, then I'll give you 3 more things on your CV to work on. And you can either make those changes and send it back to me, or I do offer a rewrite service where I'll rewrite based on those 3 bits of advice. I do the same for LinkedIn as well. So LinkedIn is the next thing on the graphic equalizer. Again, I see lots of people, they'll have an imbalance between CV and LinkedIn. The LinkedIn's good, the CV's not so good. Or their CV's good and the LinkedIn is letting them down. And you've got to look at it with different eyes, a different perspective. If I was a hiring manager who didn't know anything about your niche and all your lovely experience and places you've worked and look at all those lovely certifications, but if it doesn't look good, it's going to put me off, or it will create doubt. And if it creates doubt when they're looking at 2 profiles or 2 CVs, there's a chance they could put the other person forward. And that's what we want to avoid. The mission for your CV and your LinkedIn profile is to get you put forward for a role, to get you an interview. So work on your CV and your LinkedIn profile in parallel. Again, doesn't have to be with me, just don't go spending hundreds of pounds on it, when, for example, my LinkedIn Express is the top 3 things that I would fix on your LinkedIn profile. If you can get your LinkedIn profile 80% good, that's probably going to be good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfect, is there? It's all subjective anyway. But if I can just iron out the few things that I think are fundamentally causing a distraction or a negative on your profile, then that's going to be good for the future. That's an investment for the future. So CV, LinkedIn. Next, you want to think about your strategy. So if your strategy's not been working, years ago I'd just be on JobServe, for example. Well, that sort of strategy doesn't work anymore. So there's a list of websites on the file section of the Facebook group, for example. Also in my contracting crib sheet, I've got the list of all the websites that I've used. Get your CV sorted, get your LinkedIn profile sorted, get them all on those websites, get your email alerts set up, and try to avoid hitting the apply button. So that's what I say in my strategy, in my contracting crib sheet, is it's like the last resort is hitting the apply button. Because what you don't want to do is go into a bucket of 100 other project managers or 100 other BAs or 100 other testers. Because even if your CV or LinkedIn profile is really, really good, you're not going to stand out from the crowd because you're just one of these 100 people that have applied for this role. So it's a lot more difficult to get chosen, to get put forward for one of those 3 slots. They might only have 3 slots that they're going to give to the client for CVs and profiles. So last resort is hitting the apply button. Have I done it in the past? Yes, of course I have. But in the contracting crib sheet, I'll give you other strategies and techniques on how to get in front of recruiters, and also give you examples of questions and answers. So if a recruiter says, "What rate do you want, Dave?" you don't respond with a rate. And lots of different examples of questions and answers that I've been asked in the past. I just thought I'd put them down in the crib sheet so that you can benefit from that. And the idea is that you then come across not only with a little bit more knowledge, but a bit more confidence. And especially if you're going from perm to contracting, you don't come across as a complete newbie, and you're not going to get dominated in the conversation. You're not going to get taken advantage of. So you can basically just talk in a more powerful frame with a bit more authority. So the contracting crib sheet. So increase or improve your strategy in whatever way you want. And obviously my crib sheet might be able to help you. The next thing I would suggest to do is work on your confidence and interview technique. So you can do that by talking to a friend or a colleague. You can do a 15-minute free clarity call with me. I do longer calls as well, 30 minutes and 1 hour if you want a bit more advice on that. But just try and get used to interview techniques, especially if you're a permie going into contracting and you've not done interviews for a long time. Contractors generally, we have quite a few interviews per year when we're looking. And play it like a game, and ideally you want the job you really want not to be the first interview you have, right? Ideally you might want that to be the 3rd or 4th. So I hope that makes sense. You want to be able to practice, make your slip-ups, whatever it is, but just gaining confidence, gaining momentum, so that when you hit the interview for the role you really want, you're going to be a bit more polished. You're in a bit more of a flow state. So, and obviously if you want more help with that, I can help with calls and stuff like that as well. So there's a few things that I think can increase the stability of the legs of your table. But also, if you think of the graphic equalizer analogy, you can just up a few of the dials in 5 or 6 areas, like I've just said, and that might increase your chances. Again, no one of those things on its own, I believe, is going to be a silver bullet to you getting a job or a contract. But if you just push all those levels up, don't have to be to the max, just push them up gradually, iteratively improving all of those things every year, then you're more likely to get a role, more likely to get put forward for more roles, more likely to get more interviews. And then if you fail at something like not getting offers, then we know it's more your interview technique. If you're not getting to the point of getting lots of interviews, then you know it could be something like your CV, LinkedIn, your strategy, or you're just applying for the wrong roles completely. They're not a match for you. So anyway, I hope that is useful for you for the new year coming up. I hope you're ready. If you're looking for a role, try something different. If things haven't been working, just try and take a step back, look at things a bit more objectively, have a chat with me if you need to, and I'll tell you where I think you're going wrong, and hopefully you'll get a job or contract in the new year. Hope that's useful. Wish you all the best from Cold Reigate. All the best. See ya. Bye.